Hello, in this video, we continue to learn how to manage money in this book. We get lessons from this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and this is video number 29. Join me. Hello, welcome to Take a Step to a Better You. On this channel, I share what I know and I continue to learn. And we are now learning from this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the lessons about managing money. And this is video number 29. If you are new, my name is Sherifa, Nakalema, business owner here in Virginia, USA. And on this channel, I share YouTube tips, business tips, earning money online tips from affiliate marketing. I record motivational ones. Those are just to wake you up, to say, you know what? Take a step, make your life better. And then this recently I started books. We started with this one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We'll do more. If this one gets supported, I'll review more books. And this is video number 29. So if all that sounds like a good thing, I mean, what I'm doing here, please consider supporting this message by subscribing and sharing, and more especially, leaving a comment, please. Even if you don't like to come back, at least leave me a comment. Leave me a comment, appreciate that. And for those of you who have already agreed to support this message, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming back. And I'm hoping you already know what to do. Especially, please, if you're watching me on a premiere video, don't leave and leave a comment, please. Don't just stop in the chat. Leave a comment before you go. Because it helps the video if you put comments early, not later, early enough, okay? And everyone, please come to the premieres. I'm going to share the channel program here, the channel schedule at the end of the video. And also I'm going to share how you can get this book. Audio is free for 1 month. And I'm also going to share how you get to all the other videos that I finished. But let's first continue with this one today. We are on video 29. We have started lesson 4. The book has 6 lessons. We're on lesson 4. And if you watch all the other videos, you'll see where we came from. And then the lesson is the history of taxes and the power of corporation. It sounds like a boring topic, but a very important topic. Believe me, it's an important topic because I own a corporation, and I'll say something at the end. Yes, it's important. It's an important topic. The taxes and the corporation. And before I go to where we ended on 28, I have to tell you, especially if you are new, who Robert Kiyosaki is, the one who wrote the book. He is a self-made millionaire. He's an entrepreneur. He's an educator. He's an investor. When you see me reading, it means I got it from the book. With a mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity, starting with one life and one person at a time. And I always add, that person could be you, could be me, could be all of us. As long as we take this seriously. Okay. And he named the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad because of his 2 dads. He called them the 2 dads. One of them, the one he called the poor one, was his real dad. And he was a very intelligent man, very highly educated with a PhD, finished a 4-year degree in just 2 years, with scholarship. Everything was good. And he was a student of education. But the sad thing about it, he died broke. That's why we learned this lesson. And then the rich dad was actually a friend of his dad. His friend was Mike. At age 9, he met him. And he started learning from him. And this was the man who left school. Formal education at age 13, he was just in 8th grade, but ended up being one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. And all the lessons Robert learned are in this book. So we are on, we ended, this is video number 29, but I always like to remind you where we ended, 28. So 28 ended when the rich men had started coming up with the idea of dodging these taxes, because we had talked about how taxes started and they were taxing the rich to give the poor. So the rich decided to create corporations, and these corporations were used to avoid losses. Losses, like when it's about shift. Anyway, what we ended, I don't want to go back into what we finished, but just remember that the corporation were used to avoid losses beyond the corporation. Because if they invested in the corporation, whatever they lost, if they had a loss, it only stayed with what was the corporation. So that's why they did that. And now we're continuing lesson 29. And I'm going to read in the book But just know that when I ended 28, he had these simple diagrams he puts in, simple, and had drawn the diagram of how a corporation, like money comes in and goes out. They're just simple. If you get the physical book, and I decided that I think we can understand without those diagrams. So after he drew those simple diagrams, this is where I had stopped, and now I'm going to continue just reading. I think we'll be fine without the diagrams. So he says, it is the knowledge of the legal corporate structure, because I had drawn the structure, that really gives the rich a vast advantage over the poor and the middle class. Having two dads, teaching me, one a socialist and the other a capitalist, I quickly began to realize that the philosophy of the capitalist made more financial sense to me. It seemed to me that the socialists ultimately penalized themselves due to their lack of financial education. No matter what the tech from the rich crowd came up with, the rich always found a way to outsmart them. That is how taxes were eventually left on the middle class. The rich outsmarted the intellectuals solely because they understood the power of money, subject not taught. They understood the power of money, a subject not taught in schools. How did the rich outsmart the intellectuals? Once the tech from the rich tax was passed, cash started flowing into government coffers. Initially, people were happy. Money was handed out to government workers and the rich. It went to government workers in the form of jobs and pensions, and it went to the rich via their factories receiving government contracts. The government received a large pool of money, but the problem was the fiscal management of that money. But the problem was the fiscal management of that money. The government ideal is to avoid having excess money. If you fail to spend your allotted funds, you will risk losing it in the next budget. You would certainly not be recognized for being efficient. Business people, on the other hand, are rewarded for having excess money, and they're applauded for their efficiency. At this cycle of growing government spending, continued, the demand for money increased, and the tax the rich idea was adjusted to include the lower income levels, down to the very people who voted it in, the poor and the middle class. True capitalists use their financial knowledge to simply find an escape. They headed back to the protection of a corporation. But what many people who have never formed a corporation don't know is that a corporation is not really a thing. A corporation is merely a file folder with some legal documents in it, sitting in some attorney's office and registered with a state government agency. It's not a big building or a factory or a group of people. A corporation is merely a legal document that creates a legal body without a soul. Using it, the wealth of the rich was once again protected. It was popular because the income tax rate of a corporation is less than the individual income tax rates. In addition, certain expenses could be paid by a corporation with pre-tax dollars. This war between the haves and have-nots has raged for hundreds of years. The battle is waged whenever and wherever laws are made, and it will go on forever. The problem is that the people who lose are the uninformed, the ones who get up every day and diligently go to work and pay taxes. If they only understood the way the rich play the game, they could play it too. Then they would be on their way to their own financial independence. This is why I cringe every time I hear a parent advise their children to go to school so they can find a safe, secure job. An employee with a safe, secure job without financial aptitude has no escape. Average Americans today work 4 to 5 months for the government just to cover their taxes. In my opinion, that is simply too long. The harder you work, the more you pay the government. That's why I believe that the idea of take from the rich backfired on the very people who voted it in. Every time people try to punish the rich don't simply comply. They react. They have the money, power, and intent to change things. They don't just sit there and voluntarily pay more taxes. Instead, they search for ways to minimize their tax burdens. They hire smart attorneys and accountants and persuade politicians to change laws or create legal loopholes. They use their resources to effect change. The tax code of the United States also allows other ways to reduce taxes. Most of these vehicles are available to anyone, but it is the rich who will find them because they are minding their own business. For example, 1031 is a jargon for Section 1031 of the Internal IRS Code, which allows a seller to delay paying taxes on a piece of real estate that is sold for a capital gain through an exchange for a more expensive piece of real estate. So which means when you keep buying bigger and more expensive buildings or real estate, you are not taxed on the increase in value. Real estate is one investment vehicle that has a great tax advantage. As long as you keep trading up in value, you will not be taxed on the gains until you liquidate. People who don't take advantage of this legal tax saving are missing a great opportunity to build their asset column. The poor and the middle class don't have the same resources. They sit there and let the government needless enter their arm, or they sit there and let the government's needles enter their arm and allow the blood donation to begin. Today, I'm constantly shocked at the number of people who pay more taxes or take fewer deductions simply because they are afraid of the government. I have friends who have had their businesses shut down and destroyed only to find out it was a mistake on the part of the government. I realized all that. But the price of working from January to May is high price to pay for that intimidation. My poor dad never fought back. My rich dad didn't either. He just played the game smarter, and he did it through corporations, the biggest secret of the rich. This is the end of reading, and I have a note to add on about the corporation, but I also have a note for you here. He says, the tax man is the note in the bracket. The tax man, the heading. The tax man will take as much as you let him. The tax system is ultimately fair in that it works the same for everyone who has the same situation. If you are willing to invent, the tax laws will work in your favor. If you want to just spend money and buy liabilities, the tax law won't give you any breaks, and it's likely you will pay the most tax possible. Now, I wanted to add something about corporation because I own a corporation, at least where I am. I'm in Virginia, USA, and this is what happens when, even in other countries, when you hear limited, the people adding at the end limited. For me here, the corporation ends with INC. Incorporation, INC starts with corporation. It's a incorporation, INC. So my company is only sold INC, incorporated. What that does, I'll give you an example with numbers. If I invest $1,000 in the corporation and something happens and money is lost or something, like I own a cleaning business, if something happens with the cleaning, maybe you're cleaning and something happens, of course there is insurance and all that, but if whatever happens will stay just there, the business. It doesn't come to your personal life. So it's like when Mitt Romney, when he was running for president, said that corporations are people. In fact, he was trying to say it here when he said souls, that fire without souls. They are like people without souls, corporations, because they are treated separate. whatever you do in that corporation stays there. Whatever is covered, whatever is, even the taxes are paid. Although for me, I don't want to go too technical because they call it a flow through. So the tax, it comes back to me when they are taxing. But the C corporation, in fact, I have a whole video where I explain this corporation, the structure, business structures. I have it. I don't know. Anyone interested, you put in the comment. I'll send it a link. But I have a video about the structure or business structures. When it says C corporation, it's like very, very separate. Even the taxes are paid by the corporation separate. It doesn't come to the people who own it. But like with me, it's called an S corporation. You decide when you create a corporation whether you want it to come when they're taxing to bring the money to you. For example, with my $1,000, if I invest and I make a profit of $100, they call it my income. So because it's an S corporation, it flows through. Now, if you're in USA, this is good information for you. You decide if you want to do an S corporation. When the net income is made, it's added to your income in a personal way. Then you file your taxes. But with a C corporation, everything remains with the corporation, and it taxed as like separate. Okay, I went deep with that. But the whole thing is about liability or the way they do things. When something happens, it stays with the corporation. You can lose the whole corporation. They take everything, all the assets, but they will not come to you. Only if whatever is done is like, depending on what happened. But the losses stay with the corporation. That's why they like to do that. That it doesn't come to them in a personal way. That's the power of corporation. But the way he's explaining it also, he's talking about the taxes and how they were using it to avoid taxes. That's the chapter we are dealing with. I think he's gonna go. By the way, I don't read ahead. This is a new version of the book. I don't like to read ahead because if I read ahead, I may find myself saying something to you here in the videos that I found ahead. So I am going with you. So I think he's gonna say some more about how the corporation benefit. Let's see what the next video will say. That's it. Again, it's like a limited. When you're in another country, when they see the word limited, it's sort of like that. It separates the owner from the business. Okay, but they have different types too. If you want to get into details of that, just know when you're doing a business, you better have limited or like they have LLC also here. It's a different kind. Like protect yourself. You put they have an LLC. For those of you who are new today, on this channel, I record daily. I'm here daily. You may see me dressed like this, but actually, I record daily. These are not, I didn't record them like one time. I record every day. I chose to dress like this because I thought I wanted to differentiate. Like when I'm doing the Rich Dad book, I'll show up like this. So, daily 11 a.m. USA Eastern Time is time for books. Right now we're on Rich Dad Poor Dad, but when we finish, assuming you continue to watch them, I'll start another book and I'll ask you to vote for the next one after this one. Soon I'll start introducing new topics. New books. And then you choose which one we do next. 11 a.m. US Eastern Time daily. And on Friday, that's when I skip. But I don't like really skip the schedule. I just come live on Friday. So 11 a.m. please check your listing local, what time that is for where you are. Every day they come as premieres. Please, when you see me premiering, make sure you're subscribed and you click on the bell so that YouTube sends you a notification so you come and be on the premiered videos so we support this message. This is a very good message. But then on Thursdays and Sundays, I used to have another old schedule before I started books, and that used to be Thursdays and Sundays. Now it's 11:30. Like after the books, then 30 minutes later, I have on Thursdays YouTube tips and business tips. I choose which one to handle. More YouTube tips recently. And then on Sunday, I do motivation. And those are intended to be for everyone. Because remember, on this channel, I do YouTube tips, business tips, and online tips, motivation, and then books. you can see that it's possible not to find one person who is interested in all of that. But motivation, my messages are normally for everyone. At least that's my intention. And now for those of you, so motivation is on Sunday. Who want to get this? If you want the audio, it's free. Audible is Audible. You get it from Audible, Amazon Audible, and I have a link. It's a pinned link, a pinned comment. When you go to the comments on top, you'll find a comment I put there. It has two links. One takes you to this book. When you go, actually go through my website, honestsoul.com, because I'm an Amazon associate. So you have to go through the website, and then you find a button that says Audible and Podcast. This is very cool, actually unlimited. Go check it out. And you start in a free trial. It's called, you haven't made sure you're choosing Audible Premium Plus, because the regular one is just Audible Plus, and that's for all the other books. This is a premium book. And then you sign up, they'll give you 1 free month for free. If you want later, you can continue. But for me, I'm suggesting you get at least the free month and enjoy it. If you want a physical copy, right there on the same my website, like below, you'll see that there is an image of this book. You click on it, you can go pay for that. That one you pay for. The Audible, free for 1 month. And for those of you who want to know all these videos I've finished, number 1 to 28, in the same comment. The pinned comment, it has a link taking to all those videos. Or you can go in the playlist on my channel. They're called Lessons from Robert Kiyosaki. Or another link in the description. The description below this video. Also, at the end of this video, there is also an in the end screen. You click, it takes you to all those videos. Okay, please leave a comment. Share this message. This is very practical message. A very practical message. It's good for everyone, especially young people. If you have young people, please share these videos or buy them the book. But I have the kid version. But I think anyone who is 18 and older, or even 17 and older, they need to read this version. We have a kid's version of this book. So please, these are important messages, and my whole channel has, I believe, they're good messages. Please leave a comment. Please share. Make sure you're subscribed. Click on the red button. If it's still red, that means you're not subscribed. And click on the notification also, so you know when I have anything that's going on. Everything I do, YouTube will notify you. Like I always end these videos, these messages, I said take good care of yourself. Take very good care of your families. Take very good care of your health. Take a step to a better you. Remember to like before you leave a comment. Bye-bye.